The widest range of rock on the radio, WAAF. I was very excited when I found out we would be playing Hotline Roulette with this person today. I was hoping he was going to call. So much to talk about with Maynard James Keenan.
Oh, is Carrie there?
Yes, it's me.
Maynard calling?
Hi.
How's it going? Am I early or late?
You are right on time. I appreciate you calling.
No problem.
The first thing I wanted to ask you, obviously, is about the new album and the new project, and there seems to be a lot of questions as to exactly how to pronounce it. I've been saying Puscifer, so that is correct.
Correct.
Okay, a couple people have called to try and correct me, and I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, so.
Yep, Puscifer. Like Puss in Boots, Puscifer.
The new album comes out tomorrow, and I think that the title of the album is hilarious. Is this some kind of throwback to an Electric Company episode from your childhood? V is for vagina.
Partially. Actually, it was just me being flippant. I just figured it was kind of sophomoric humor. I didn't think it would receive as much controversy as it has. I was just kind of being flippant, and I was kind of like when your uncle says, "Here, pull my finger." It's not really that funny. It's kind of corny, but you still kind of giggle out of respect. And
has there been controversy with it, or people threatening not to carry it or anything?
Yeah, Target pulled it.
Did they really?
Yeah.
But Walmart is going to sell it?
I don't think so. I don't think so. No, it's stickered, so no, I don't think Walmart will sell it.
Is that a sign of success for you when the big chain stores say they're not going to carry it, or as a businessman, is that upsetting to you?
It's just kind of silly. I mean, because your 5-year-old son can say vagina. It's not that big of a deal. So it's a little depressing when you go.
I have one, so it's a little sad that you're going to get in trouble for saying it.
Right. Well, I was going to put a sticker over it that said with an old woman, like a school teacher, and saying over the word that says, "Although I have one, this word offends me." But I never got around to it. With
all of the projects that you've been involved with, there seems to be maybe that project makes a statement for that time in your life, I guess is what I'm trying to get across. Like Tool, especially the early stuff, is more angry. I looked at some of the A Perfect Circle stuff, especially Emotive, as being, I guess, more sad and depressing. Are you trying to change your mindset about music with this new project?
Not necessarily. I'm just reacting to where I'm at. Having fun with the process, and also just trying to navigate what's going on with this new world order of music industry. Trying to figure out how what's the next step. You've
had lawsuits with previous record companies and with all the different projects that you've been a part of. Do you think that music can just exist digitally? Or do the record companies still have a role? How do you look at this whole new business model now?
I think bands themselves, if they educate themselves on that part that they're not familiar with, which is the business side of it a little bit, just having those conversations, and I think they'll find that they can do this themselves for the most part. I think there'll still be that desire to have that physical item. I don't think that it'll completely go digital forever. I think you can get away from the record companies regardless. That's not even a question. The question is whether or not a band is going to put out physical items or just go completely digital. Just to be clear, there's no need to have a record company unless you just can't figure out business on your own and you're just too lazy to take care of those things and make those phone calls.
Is there going to be some special packaging with the new Puscifer CD that rivals the amazing packaging from the last Tool album?
The packaging is why Target's not carrying it.
What is so terrible about the packaging that Target's not going to carry it? Can you tell me?
No.
So we have to go out and buy it tomorrow?
Yes. Absolutely.
We'll be back with more from Maynard James Keenan. It's WAAF. We're back talking with Maynard James Keenan about his new project, Puscifer. The sound of Puscifer is a lot different than A Perfect Circle, and with Tool, it's a lot more electronic, but you're still able to kind of weave an acoustic guitar in there. When you were looking for musicians to collaborate on this project with you, were you looking for musicians that could bring you specific sounds, or were you looking for musicians that were going to bring you interesting and original ideas?
For the most part, I started the project out with just using vocals and just simple rhythms just to kind of for a bed for the vocals. And then as time went on, a lot of those it just doesn't work, so I would bring in other instruments. But I don't really play electric guitar, so I just kind of had to use the acoustic to kind of fill in some of those spaces, and then friends would come in and play bass here and play drums there, and so it was more a matter of just kind of cooking and adding spices and taking spices away for the most part.
You worked with a lot of friends on this project. Is it hard for you to critique your friends or to kind of tell them that what they're doing isn't good, or how does that dynamic work with people like Tom Morello or Tim Comerford from Rage Against the Machine?
Well, I think it's easier to focus on the track itself at that point, because as long as you're not getting into some kind of pseudo marriage with a person and jumping in a van and trying to make it work and trying to blend your visions together, if you're just doing single tracks with people, then they generally tend to go, okay, well, somebody's in charge. If we're doing this track, it's going to be, it's a track for you or it's a track for me. So the friends tend to just take a back seat and go, how can I help make this track what you had in mind for it to be? So it's a lot easier to critique that stuff in that instance.
You've worked with a long list of people. Is there anybody that you still have on this list of yours that you're like, oh, I would love to collaborate with that person?
I just kind of leave it up to fate and chance, and just hopefully when I'm in the situation where I need something in a particular city, someone will go, oh, so-and-so's in town, and I think they are okay on that instrument. I'll have them come down. So, yeah, I have no specific people in mind. I'm just kind of open to kind of what happens.
One of my favorite collaborations of yours is when you sang with Tori Amos. And I thought it was really interesting the way she introduced you in New York on stage. She said that you're the person that sings lullabies to her when she can't sleep. Exactly what are you singing to Tori Amos in the middle of the night to get her to go to bed?
I don't know. I was probably pretty drunk. I don't remember.
Well, speaking of alcohol, we have to talk about your other passion in life, which is winemaking and your vineyards in Arizona, which automatically sounds like a weird place to try and grow grapes.
It's actually the perfect place to grow grapes. Are you a fan of Italian wine?
Yes.
Are you a fan of Spanish wine?
Yes.
Are you a fan of southern French wines like Châteauneuf-du-Pape or Rhone Valley wine?
I don't know enough about it, which was one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because I think winemaking is something that when you really get into it and you're educated in it, it's a passion. And for me, I grew up in an Italian family, so I drank a lot of wine, especially stuff that was made in the basement that probably wasn't very good. But it's very intimidating for someone that wants to know more but almost feels stupid to ask the questions. So what would you say to someone like me that feels like an idiot asking someone for help?
Just there is a place in your area, I guarantee it, that does tastings several days a week of different areas, different wines, and it's like anything else. You just take the time, follow your conscious being knows, and just kind of put some focus on it. That's all it really is. It's exposure, and just follow your senses.
Is it more difficult and challenging for you to make a good wine or to make music, or is it a completely different challenge altogether?
It's just a creative process. They're all just creative processes, and they require focus and conscious decision making, and a lot of it's just that's a small percentage of it, but the largest percentage of it is just patience and intuition.
We're talking to Maynard James Keenan, who is the lead singer of Tool and A Perfect Circle, and his new project, Puscifer, is in stores tomorrow. Maynard, you're a very busy guy. You have a lot of things going on. How involved are you at your winery?
As much as I can be here, I'm here. And in fact, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm about to go into a blending meeting as soon as I get off the phone, trying to decide on the final blend for the 2006 Sensei.
I have a bottle of your 2004 that someone gave me as a gift, and I haven't touched it yet because I'm afraid to open it.
Which one? Premier Passot?
Stop reading my mind. Yeah, that's it. The Premier Passot.
Is it the half bottle or a full bottle?
The half bottle with the blue wax on the top.
I wouldn't open it.
No?
No. The half bottles are very volatile. Think in terms of an aquarium. The smaller the aquarium, the more outside influence can affect it.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So a bottle that's that size, you're taking a gamble if you open it. It might not be great anymore. With
your private life and your family life, is it all now centered around your vineyard, or are you still trying to do a lot of traveling? Do you take your son with you? Is your main base now in Arizona?
He comes out on the road a little bit, and he comes out here when he can. But of course, he's in school right now, so he doesn't really work in the vineyard too much during that period of time.
Well, it looks like you won't be hitting the road for a while because Puscifer isn't due to be touring, is it?
Yeah, mainly a studio-based project. Eventually we'll take it on the road, but that won't be for, a couple of years. I have things in mind for it, but nothing as of yet.
Does the release of Puscifer mark the end of A Perfect Circle or of Tool, or is this just another creative outlet for you?
Just a creative process that's done with different tools and different people.
Talking with Maynard James Keenan of Tool, A Perfect Circle, and now Puscifer. We'll be back with more on WAAF. There's obviously a lot of focus on politics right now with an election coming up. And how do you feel about the American political process right now?
Hoard food.
Well, I guess all the anger hasn't left from the early Tool years.
Hoard food, plant vines, dig in, and weather the storm.
Now, by meaning digging in and weathering the storm, does that mean you haven't given up your love of firearms for your previous military time?
I have no comment.
Well, in between apocalyptic thoughts, you have wine blending to do. Exactly what is involved with the rest of your day?
Well, we basically have several components that are going to go into making a final blend. And the process we go through is we have about 9 or 10 of our friends sitting here, and each component is labeled with a number, so you don't know what it is. And it's generally a consensus-based process where we take notes and discuss what we think about each piece and how it goes together and how it fits like a puzzle piece with the other barrels and the other varietals. And you just kind of come up with a solid structure in a way, kind of like building a house.
I've seen wine tastings where people have to spit the wine out. Do you have to spit the wine out, or are you allowed to actually drink it?
Well, you can drink it, but, if you want to get anything else done today, you better spit. I mean, I still have to go back and package up. We're still, since I'm doing all this, releasing this project Puscifer on our own. I had to go back with Jen, and we're actually, wrapping packages and taking them to the post office. It's all hands on.
And how are you finding the time to work on music and also this clothing and merchandise line that I know you're very hands-on in making collectors-only kind of runs of T-shirts and stuff? Where do you find the time to do this?
You just do it one at a time. You just do, you don't try to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner all in the same hour.
Do you get inspiration from one that helps you work on another?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's nice to kind of shift gears a little bit and focus on the other one and bring what you've learned from one into the other.
Do you have kind of a frivolous hobby that you go to just to kind of, restart your brain?
Ride my bike to the vineyard. It's about, 10 miles, 12 miles, kind of clear your head. There's a creek right nearby. You just go down to the creek and just listen to the water run by and watch the bald eagle fly overhead. Try to keep it from eating your chicken.
Do you have a whole farm at the vineyard?
Yeah, we have chickens and geese that are kind of like our own little organic pesticide. They kind of go out there and eat the bugs and keep the weeds down.
Well, I would assume that approach and trying to be more organic is only going to make your wine taste better.
Quality wine, it also just fosters more of a sustainable industry, sustainable agriculture, and it fosters a pretty tight-knit community. It's
very optimistic, which I think with a lot of your music and some of the interviews you've given is almost a surprise, but it's good to know that while you're still making all of these statements that you're still holding on to optimism.
I've always been optimistic, even with the earlier stuff you've heard. All the things you've heard, though, have been like therapy. If all you knew of a person is what you heard them talk about in therapy, you would think they were a mess.
So we're like counselors for you. We just sit back, we listen to what you have to say.
You nod. Think about your grocery list while I'm waffling on about, some horrible event.
I don't think anybody's ever worried about what they were going to pick up at Stop and Shop while they were at one of your concerts.
Not yet, anyway.
Well, they're sure as hell not going to be able to think about groceries when they're listening to the new album, especially with how weird your voice sounds with all the effects.
There's actually not too many effects on the voice, honestly.
What, are you doing it with just the microphone or with your vocal cords? Or?
I mean, there's compression and a few digital delay things, but for the most part, it's pretty much straight up.
Were you nervous when people were going to hear it to see whether or not they were going to appreciate it, or do you just put things out for your own?
I just assume that it's going to be met with critical review just because it's not what I've done before. So when the dust settles and people get off their high horse and just listen to it as music and stop worrying about who did it, I think they'll enjoy it.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to get to it, even though Target and Walmart, the tastemakers of art, have decided not to sell it for you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you calling in. I know that you're very busy, so I thank you for taking time out of your day.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Have a good day.